Hello people, it's Mindset Arc, it's Jim, and these intros are really fucking hard to do. Every time I start doing them, I need to re-record them 2 or 3 times because I just don't know what to say, and this rant is another proof of that, but I won't delete it this time. So, today I wanted to talk a bit about, again, use the context of last couple of days and talk a little bit about my biggest struggles of last couple of months and the time when I had a huge breakdown and I had a lot of paranoia as well. And I probably need to turn off my notifications here. Yep. So, what prompted me to this is today, this day. Yesterday I was completely out of energy, and that was because I had a lot of progress lately, and I just, for now, I'm going through the period when I just cannot do much. Even if I force myself, I will quickly run out of energy and I won't be able to concentrate on anything. And that usually happens a couple of months, then a couple of months of huge productivity, and that's just how my mind probably works. Now I can not run away from that, but accept it. And today was another thing. I'm really grateful to myself for learning that in the last couple of months, couple of weeks even probably, in the last month, that this period, this moment when I cannot do anything for a couple of days is okay. And I didn't beat myself up for it. I just accepted my current state, my just immense obsession with distractions and not doing almost anything and lying on the couch for half a day and sleeping or eating something. Just that's how my couple of days went, and that was okay because I realized that my body actually needed that, and this allowed me today to do the same thing for a half a day, but then turn it around by just sitting and working on my stuff. And now it's 10 p.m. It's almost the time for me to go to sleep, but anyway, I feel a lot of energy, so I will record this episode, maybe another one. It's gonna be okay because I used the baby steps throughout the day to push myself and to recover. I had a really bad state at the start, like physically bad state, but even that can be turned around with um, some action, or at least just accepting this state and not pushing yourself if it doesn't work. So I will be clear, I am able to be at this state because I pushed myself and because I saw that I was responding to me pushing myself. So I started, I was able to concentrate on my stuff. I was able to get really good work progress. I was able to create some themes, some notes for myself to work on and to communicate with a lot of people. And now it's okay. Even my headache has passed, surprisingly. So that's interesting how accepting is the first thing that required for it. If at the start of the day I was being, uh, I would not have accepted my state. I would be fighting it at all the time. I would be saying like, oh, why is it another day that I'm gonna be miserable and I hate this shit and all of this stuff. I did that before and now I didn't, and I was able to recover. And now I want to go to my previous experience that was at the end of the last year, so about 2 months ago, when I had probably the biggest breakdown in my life. It started something exactly like this week actually, when I was still in coaching program with Andy back then, and I was putting in a lot of effort. I did a lot of stuff every day. I was using sleeping schedules. I was using schedules to track my progress throughout the day. It wasn't to like completely control me, but it was an interesting thing to do. But there was a lot of control back then. And at the start of one week, after one of the days off when I relaxed, I was just not able to return to my productivity. It was like my mind stopped listening to me, and I knew what I had to do, but I just couldn't. And at that time, I was like, okay, a couple of days will be okay. But I still didn't like it. I still was complaining about it in the group back then. I remember oh, that is so bad that I cannot work. But okay, I at least accept it, but I didn't accept it really. I was fighting it all the time internally as well. And that continued for 3 days when each day I had a less and less amount of effort that I could do. And because of that, I pushed myself even more because I thought, oh, I'm losing control over myself, right? What we usually do. And it was like the last grasp of my control just getting out of myself, and I don't know what to do after. So I was trying to push myself even harder with all of this structure, with all of these schedules, all of this stuff that I knew how it worked. But it didn't this time. It didn't work. My mind just refused to, like, I couldn't convince myself to do any of the stuff that I needed to do. Even if I could, I had no concentration at all, but even to convince myself to even sit and start required such an immense amount of energy that I was basically fighting myself at every point, at every second of that. And not really surprisingly, after 3 days at the evening, I don't remember what exactly triggered it, but I remember lying down in bed, contemplating on everything that I did that day and how I just on everything that I didn't do that day, basically beating myself up for it really hard. And how I knew what I needed to do, I don't know. I remembered of something really small that I could do to turn this day around, and even then I couldn't do that. And some strange thoughts started happening in my mind. It's funny to look at it from this perspective, but at that time it felt real, so listen to that. I thought that my mind was literally fighting me. I thought that I cannot trust myself anymore, that my mind tries to just undermine me at every level. And this was extreme paranoia. I don't think I experienced it even before in my life, but maybe I did. But at this time, I definitely will remember that for all my life. um, this for a couple of hours, I just lied there, basically thinking that, oh, I'm losing control over myself. Absolutely, I cannot do anything anymore, and I every my fail safe that I previously used, my I fail safes relied on meditations, relied on my journals, relied on me just processing stuff. Nothing of that worked because I just wasn't able to use it all, and I just didn't know what else is there for me. And in my mind there was exactly the thought, I cannot trust myself anymore. And what would I do after this? Um, for the context, for the last year, even before probably, I created this belief that this opposite belief that I can only trust myself. Everything else could fail, but at the end of the day, I will be one-on-one with my mind, and that will be like my final stand. No one can take that from me. And so imagine my thoughts just running in the opposite direction when I thought that, oh, I cannot even trust myself anymore. Then what is else for me there? Yeah, it's funny to look at this in hindsight, but at that time I made a really interesting decision that I would have recovered anyway in a couple of days. Now I know that, but I learned such a lot from this breakdown because of that decision. I asked help from two people. From one of the friends that I have here that I could meet in a couple of days at that time. And I was in a coaching group. So I wrote a long rant post there how I didn't belong, how I cannot trust myself anymore and I cannot achieve anything. It was basically me whining about a lot of stuff. But in hindsight, it was the last call for help that I just could master at that time. And that was it. I did these two things. I realized that I reached out for help and I cannot trust myself anymore, and that I don't really have anything else to do. And this realization, I think it freed me at that time. And I just went into crying for a long time and passed out into sleeping at some point. That was basically how my breakdown went. And the next day, when I woke up, obviously I was feeling much better, but surprisingly it didn't pass all the way. I still had this. I don't know if that was just my belief or it was really something that my mind did to protect me or something like that, but I knew what I had to do again to get into this productive state, into this state of just feeling normal, right? I did all of this before and I knew the steps, but even thinking about the steps caused me just extreme, this almost the panic. I almost felt the panic there, and I felt how it started just gaining this strength, this almost overwhelming me. And at every time when it happened, I just I was basically communicating with my mind back then. I started just talking with my mind. I was like, okay, I understand you. That's too much. We're not doing that. I'm taking a step back and I'm backing away. And I suggested something, I was suggesting something else. So, for example, my thought was, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym and it will make me better because it always does. But just the thought of getting out of the house and going to the gym, meeting, seeing people outside, and even just dressing to get out of the house, that was all giving me such an intense amount of of this anxiety, almost the panic, that I had to stop. But I tried to find a solution to this. So I knew that I needed to take some baby step, but I needed to find what is the compromise here. What is the smallest I could do? What is the biggest step I could do while not getting these anxiety attacks? And that was just staying at the house and doing some sets of push-ups. And that was okay. That didn't cause any anxiety out of me. And I was like, okay, I found a way how to communicate with my mind. And I did that with everything else, with work that I needed to do, with don't remember what exactly I did at that time. I think with blog posts, yeah, I couldn't even think about them. Something with cooking, with diet. Okay, that was probably okay. But anyway, I wrote like 5 steps, of these baby steps to address me myself in different areas, and that was it for the first day after this breakdown. And for the each passing day, I started ramping up a little bit. So I started from some baby steps, then I just improved it a little bit. The next day, I think I still couldn't get out of the house. It still gave me extreme anxiety, but I think I went to the balcony and stood there in I don't think it was cold, so I just watched people and communicated with some of the friends and all of that. And then the next day I could get out of the house, and I was just ramping it up for a while. And so for the 4 days after this breakdown, so it all from the start to finish took about a week. So this breakdown took almost a week in with the center, with this like peak in the middle. And it was such an interesting experience because firstly I finally asked for help from someone else and I trusted them for that. And that was probably the biggest thing I got from, okay, it was the second biggest thing I got from this breakdown. Just finally being able to ask someone for help and understanding that people are actually want to help me. People around me are friendly and can support me in these situations. And that I was really dramatic, and even in that state, people still wanted to support me. So that was a cool thing to understand. But the most important thing I got from it is even this moment when I completely cannot trust myself, and I think that everything will break down, and I literally don't have anything to support me. And I thought I would get stuck in that state, but I didn't. And the biggest understanding here is even if something that bad happens, it eventually passes. Eventually everything will be okay. And I think that was the breaking point in my this goal. For a couple of weeks later, I established my year-long goal of year-long focusing on peace, gratitude, acceptance, all of this stuff, like honesty. It was not material, it was mental stuff. I focused on me being happy, basically, on me feeling that I can be okay right now and I don't need another I don't need established business, I don't need a lot of people who know me, I don't need a lot of dating success. I can be okay right now. And this breaking point, no, this tipping point where I went a couple of weeks later fully consciously, it started from this breakdown. this breakdown what allowed me to even experience that I don't need so much control in my life. Nothing really bad will happen. I can lose some, I can stall some progress, but eventually I will find my way, or the world will help me find the way, or the people around me will help. So I believe every one of us can do the same. We know how to get out of any problem that we're into. We can get stuck in it, but I think we get stuck in it because we personally don't want to let it go, because we personally consider it such a bad thing. I think with when we think about something, maybe some really bad situation, something really intense, something that we need to grieve upon even. If we get stuck in it, if we try to fight it and cannot accept it, then it starts to destroy us. Then we cannot get out. But if you just accept whatever your current state is, I had a lot of episodes before about accepting current state, but this one is exactly about something quite serious. And I understand we all need some time to process this. It may be really painful, but even accepting that it is okay to feel pain for now, it is okay to grieve about something for now, it is okay to be angry or to be missing out on something, but just accepting that state, but knowing ultimately that life is something more. Life is bigger than this event. Another thing that can help here is to just, I understand that it doesn't work in all of the situations. In most serious situations, you won't be doing any of the techniques. I couldn't do that in my breakdown. I just had to believe, I just didn't have to believe anything. I just couldn't. And that is okay, I guess. But now, the next time something like that happens, I probably won't be able to use anything like that again because of the intensity of emotions. That is true. But somewhere deep inside my mind, I will understand that no matter what happens, everything will be okay. And that can help. But if you are able to do something, if that's not such an intense, try going in your mind in like 3-5 years ahead and looking back. And looking back at this situation, this event that you're into right now, and seeing, will that really matter in a course if you look at it from the 3-5 years perspective, maybe even 10 years? Will you even remember this thing as something important? And even if you are, how will it affect your overall life? Would you be able to adjust to whatever happened? And just another technique to think about. I don't want to go into this a lot. I probably wanted just to get this message across that in the middle of something really huge happening, when you don't know how to cope, what to do, try to believe that everything will turn out to be okay. Because it will. One way or another, it will be okay in the end. And yeah, that thought, I think, the only thing that is able to remain in any situation. Maybe with some practice. Maybe it's not easy. I understand that. Practice it. Keep that in mind. That no matter what happens now, everything will be okay. And everything is okay. Everything is just goes as it should. No matter how painful it is to accept sometimes. And yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say for now. And yeah, just remember that everything will be okay. Bye.